Today, I honestly was going to make a video on how to design or something about design tips, and it just came to me that maybe it's better to just go over the designs that made me my first six figures and the designs that sold five figures in their lifetimes. Just break them down and go over small, tiny tutorials that are digestible to those of you watching on YouTube. Now, this is a video I never honestly thought about making, and I was just trying to think of ways that I could share how I personally made my first five-figure product and what designs really led me to making those first five figures. And I was just like, let me just go over those designs. I think this is something that maybe I've unintentionally gatekept or gatekept. Is it gatekept or gatekept if I'm saying it in like with an ED on it? Anyways, not important, right? Watching this video and doing all of these fonts and colors and styles doesn't mean that this is something that's trending right now, or maybe it might sell for you. What's really critical about designing is creating a new design trend that's different than the rest. Now, what I'm sharing in this video, you can use some of these fonts and maybe mix and combine certain aspects and styles that I'm talking about that might create a next bestseller for your shop, or maybe something a little bit different than what I'm describing in this video could become someone's next bestseller. That's what at least maybe I wish I watched when I began, is just because someone else was successful with that design style doesn't mean that you will, because again, that person already kind of went to the market first with that, but it is still possible, like I like to say in this channel. Besides that, we're gonna break down the 6 design styles that made me six figures in my 20s. I've seen it in the comments every time I mention I'm 20 still. A lot of people are like, there's no way, I thought you were 30. I actually was between Gen Z and millennial. So, you know, I'm one of those annoying people that say zillennial. I will never repeat that again though on this channel, I don't think, because kind of cringe. But anyways, we're gonna hop into this video and those design styles. So that first design style was simply a duo font. Now, you may have heard of duo fonts a few times throughout YouTube, and duo fonts are honestly such a dynamic design style that just is so beautiful with phrases. And this is something that I personally started doing when I began with my Etsy and print-on-demand business, and that's how I started to see a lot of income coming in, was just through a duo font that I found to really work for me. Now, some things I suggest if you are using duo fonts is to not get it overly complicated. So you only need 2 fonts, and usually you want to have one font being a sans serif or a serif font, and then the second font being a cursive font. One of my favorite cursive fonts that I used when I first began my business was a shoelace typed font. So I'm going to show on the screen just a few examples of different shoelace fonts, but there's tons and tons of shoelace fonts out there, and they're just so beautiful and just it kind of almost like pretty noodle type of script, I guess. I don't know. I feel like that's a weird description of that, but basically I just absolutely loved using that with like a bison bold font and then having a script font underneath, or really any kind of tall font. A little bit of a segue here is when you're font selecting, this is a really critical step in designing. When I was selecting fonts for my shop, I really wanted to hone in on a tall font, because then I could put a shoelace font in the center of the font or below the font, and it just had this very beautiful combination. And if I were to add in any colors to either font or just have it black and white, it just went with so many different sweatshirts and t-shirts in my time in selling. And I really attribute like a lot of my sales to finding a really good duo font combo. So right here to introduce Creative Fabrica to those of you who have not heard of it before. They offer unlimited fonts and graphics, and also a whole bunch of other things within their membership and subscription. So if you are watching this, the same promotion might not be running, but I highly recommend using Creative Fabrica if you're looking for print-on-demand friendly fonts and also graphics. With licensing for print-on-demand use, not every graphic and font is eligible for print-on-demand use. And the best way to tell is, let's say you wanted to use this chubby script here, we can see commercial usage is allowed. And with Creative Fabrica's terms and conditions, they do allow use of every font on their site for print-on-demand usage. If you're unsure, you can also go to this print-on-demand area here And then these are all of the graphics. Now, as you guys can see already, I will link this in the description, but these duo fonts, this chiffon cake, you can look all over Creative Fabrica. There are so many different beautiful fonts and beautiful combinations you can create. So like Best Love Smile Duo. There is also just a dog lover font. So just so many great fonts that I highly recommend this website if you're looking for different fonts outside of what maybe Kittl or another software may provide. Now, the second design style is as simple as just using a tall font or stretching a font to make it tall. Now, there's a few ways that you can stretch fonts. One of my favorite ways is through on Kittl. I would just stretch the font out, and sometimes I like to make like an arch look. I just found that tall fonts just look so beautiful for so many different niches. I know that sounds so simple, but simple truly does sell on Etsy and just any marketplace. The less that you have, the more likely I've seen that customers want to purchase that type of listing. So that's just something I found through my time. Sometimes I would add a graphic if it was too boring, but a lot of the times I would just stretch out a font and see how that goes. The third design style that really sold for my shop was a warped repeated text. So I would repeat a text a few times and then I would warp the text. Sometimes I would do one line of text, just regular text. The second line might be an outline text. The third line would be a regular text again, no outline. And then the fourth text would be a outline text. And then I would warp it from there. So I would pick and pull parts of the text. This type of design looks really nice on a back of a hoodie, maybe on the back of a sweatshirt or even the front of a sweatshirt on a mug. There's just so many places that you could put a design like this. The fourth type of design style that really sold for me was doing a collegiate font and with a outline. So I would make a outline collegiate font and then I would also throw in a added bonus of that font and that text where I would curve it slightly. And this worked really well for small phrases or mid-sized phrases, usually like up to 8 characters. Sometimes I could get away with 12 characters at maximum in a text, but that's basically the design style that really sold for me, especially when I first started selling on Etsy. I saw so many sales just selling a basic outlined curved text. The next design style that really took off for me was a repeated dull vintage color palette design style. So I would repeat one phrase about 4 to 5 times and I would do a color palette that almost had a ombre dull vintage color palette. And this really sold for me. I actually chose one of like the ugliest color palettes that I at least thought I honestly didn't want to post, and I posted it. It became my first bestseller on Etsy, and yeah, that's basically how I had one of my first bestsellers, was through this. So take a page from my book, post the design style that you think is the ugliest, and you might actually get a sale. The final design style that earned me a lot during my time selling in my first shop was a deleted border text duo font type of design. So it was a lot like the duo font design, except for I would border and delete the border in between a graphic, or maybe I had a tall text or a sans serif text and then the script text would have a removed border, so it would be see-through onto the fabric of a t-shirt or sweatshirt. And that's the best way I could describe it. Of course, I'm showing it in a tutorial format in this video, but that's basically what I did. And I was easily able to do this over time. And I found it just gave my listings and my designs a very professional feel by doing this almost anti-border type of effect, I guess I will name it. Let me know if anyone has a better description of that in the comments below. So guys, that is it for this video and the design styles that made me my first 6 figures. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below. Also, just so you know, you can get 1 month free of Kittl Pro in the description as well by using the code I have in that description. Besides that, if you want more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video here.